Hello, my friends. This is Sabrina with Sabrina's Crafty Corner or Sabrina's Crafty Home Decor, depending on which page you are watching it from. And this is a picture frame that I got from the Dollar Tree, and I am giving it a good coat of Burnt Umber by Apple Barrel. And I painted front and back, although the back ended up not being necessary. But at the time, I wasn't sure quite what I was going to do with this craft just yet. But so you don't need to paint the back, just the front and the sides, inside edge and outside. And I gave it 2 coats because this is kind of a dry wood, so it soaked it in pretty well. And this is Crackle Medium by Folk Art, and I am giving it a thin, even coat, again just on the front. And this is going to give our top coat of paint a cracked, aged look to make it look like old wood. And then you're going to dry that really well before putting on your top coat. Now, I did forget to turn the camera back on, so this next scene, it's pretty well painted, but I used Waverly Cashew chalk paint, and I gave it a coat of that after I dried the Crackle Medium. And now I'm using my heat tool to dry that and crack the paint. Again, giving it that old wood effect. And now I'm taking the glass that came with this picture frame and I'm using my dabber and I am giving it a coat of, it's called Ballerina Slipper by Waverly, and it's chalk paint. And I'm just going to cut the white edges off of this rice paper that I got from, I think, DecoupageCentral.com, but I get my rice paper from DecoupageCentral.com as well as DecoupageNapkins.com. So it came from one of those 2 places. And now that the paint is dry, I'm giving it a coat of Mod Podge to glue the rice paper image down. If you like my video, please be sure to hit subscribe if you're watching this from YouTube. Click on the subscribe button below, then click on the bell, then click on all so that you'll be notified when I post new videos. So I just sanded down the excess paper, and now I'm sanding down the edges just a little bit of the top coat of the paint to bring out some more of that burnt umber underneath. And I'm using Distress Oxide here in the color Black Soot and a makeup brush I picked up from Dollar Tree, just giving it a little more of an aged look on the frame itself. And then I remembered I forgot to put the top coat of Mod Podge on to make sure I sealed that image really well. And I'm drying that again with my heat tool. Now, for whatever reason, I could not get that glass back into the picture frame this time, so I ended up breaking the glass, which you'll see here in just a second. And so, but I was able to fix it because it didn't go all the way through to the picture. So I took the flap off the original back of the picture frame. I took the flap off and the hanger, and I used E6000 glue and glued it to the back of the glass. And then I used Mod Podge on that as well because I also painted it, but then realized I didn't need to. So this is a plaque that I picked up from Goodwill. And in hindsight, I'm giving it a coat of Burnt Umber by Apple Barrel, and it ended up taking 3 coats. I should have sanded down that lettering, but it felt flat to me, so I didn't think it would show through, but it did. So my advice to you, it would be to sand off that lettering first before you paint it. Because as you can see, as I dry brush this with Waverly Ivory, and then I go over it again with Waverly Cashew dry brushing, you can see some of it is coming back through. But that's okay, because we're going to glue this picture frame down on top of it and it will cover it. Now this is a stencil that I ordered from Temu, and I'm using Waverly Moss, and I taped it down with painter's tape because it kept lifting and wanting to move. So use painter's tape to tape your stencils down. And I'm using my dabber just and wiping off most of the paint on my dabber. You don't want much paint or it'll bleed. And you don't want your paint to bleed under the stencil. So it's kind of like dry brushing with your dabber. So I dip it in the ink and then I kind of wipe it off on the puppy pad I have underneath there, so that I just barely have any paint on it. And I did both sides and the top. I dried the sides first before I put the stencil down on the top so that I didn't smudge the paint on the sides. And now I am putting it on the top there. And again, hold it down really well. You don't want it to move around or you'll smear your paint. And then we're drying that again. I didn't do the bottom because I'm going to put a Bible verse on the bottom. So now I'm just putting hot glue on the back of the picture frame and hot gluing it into place. Just to make sure that it's even. And I chose Ephesians 5:19. And I'm painting each letter. These are little wooden letters, and I honestly don't remember where I got them from. I've had them for quite a while, but I want to say that I ordered them on Amazon. So I'm just painting them with the same Waverly Moss I used for the stenciling. And I chose Ephesians 5:19. It says, speaking to yourselves in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, singing and making melody in your heart to the Lord. So the back of, if you look at the back behind the cross, you'll see music notes. So I wanted to have a Bible verse on there that was referring to music and singing to the Lord. So that's the verse I picked. So now I used the painter's tape again, and I glued a stencil down, and I'm using the Ultimate Gorilla wood glue that I've poured into the container there, and I'm just painting the backs of the letters with the Gorilla Glue, and I'm using the stencil as my guide to make sure that my words go on there, or my word goes on there straight. I don't really like to eyeball stuff like this if I don't have to, because it tends to come out crooked. These little dots for the were very difficult to hang on to. You can't tell in the sped up video, but I was struggling with those. They're so tiny. I also, off camera, I took the back off, the back flap for this picture frame. I took that off and I painted the entire back with Burnt Umber by Apple Barrel, just to give it a nice clean and finished look. So these are some paper corners that I got from Temu. In all honesty, I thought I was buying clay corners because they're very 3D. So they look like clay corners when I ordered them. But they're paper. They're very pretty. So I'm using Mod Podge and I'm painting it on the back of the corner and then putting it in place. And then I'm going to paint a layer of Mod Podge on the top of them as well. I just wasn't confident that there's a lot of tiny little corners and edges in these corners, and I was afraid they'd start peeling off. So I just gave them a little extra seal there to make sure that they stayed in place. And then dried them with my heat tool. Now off camera, I took a piece of lace ribbon I had coffee stained, and I stapled it to the back for our hanger, and then I lifted the ends of the lace, and then I hot glued them. I just folded them up over the staples and hot glued it to kind of cover the staples. And this is our finished craft. So I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you so much for watching.